A staggering $20 billion was gambled by Vegas in a desperate bid to claw back its glory after a crippling shutdown. But instead of a record-breaking jackpot of tourists, the city was plunged into an eerie, unprecedented emptiness. The house always wins. That was the ironclad rule of this town. But in a shocking twist, the house itself went bust. The so-called super projects, once paraded as modern miracles, from Elon Musk's farcical tunnels and billion-dollar stadiums to skyscrapers that promised a new dawn, now stand as towering monuments to failure. An entire $20 billion comeback strategy went up in smoke, leaving nothing but a graveyard of abandoned projects, a mountain of suffocating debt, and casinos glittering grotesquely in their emptiness. The lights blazed on, but the soul of Vegas had been extinguished. If the city that never sleeps can be brought to its knees, is the American dream itself on life support? In today's exposé, we journey into the decaying heart of this supposed paradise to uncover the catastrophic truth of what truly happened, and why this time, no one is coming back. Las Vegas bet the farm. Over $20 billion on the promise of a spectacular revival. That gamble didn't just fail, it backfired with explosive force. In a blink, over 12% of visitors, a horrifying exodus of over 500,000 people, are now refusing to be extorted for $40 to park a car for an hour or $20 for a miserable cup of coffee. The international fallout is even more calamitous. Canadian tourists alone, a vital artery representing over 20% of the market, have vanished, erasing $3.66 billion in revenue and putting 43,000 local jobs on the chopping block. What turned America's party capital into a ghost town? Let's peel back the layers and find the root of this disaster. After the pandemic, a dangerous cabal of Vegas officials and corporate behemoths concocted an audacious, arrogant plan to build a new Vegas. This wasn't to be a mere gambling town, but a global monument to opulent excess. From 2020 to 2025, a torrent of capital, estimated at over $20 billion, was poured into this reckless fantasy. The sales pitch was a siren song of modern luxury, a fusion of high-tech spectacle and world-class entertainment designed to bleed wallets dry. The usual corporate titans, MGM Resorts, Caesars Entertainment, and Sphere Entertainment Co. were all at the table, leading the charge toward this supposed dream. But by 2025, the magic had vanished and the trajectory was a nosedive into ruin. The city is now in a state of free fall. Tourist numbers have cratered and hotel occupancy is languishing at a pathetic 66 to 68%. These numbers are a chilling indictment, falling below even the grim statistics from the height of the global lockdown. How did a plan so brilliantly marketed implode so spectacularly? The answer lies with the very projects hailed as saviors. In the media, they were shiny symbols of the future. In reality, they were a rotten facade from the start. The MSG Sphere, a $2.3 billion glowing orb, was sold as the future of entertainment. It turned out to be a financial black hole, an empty ball that couldn't even cover its own operating costs. Its stock price plummeted, and the crowds disappeared after the initial novelty wore off. But the Sphere was not an isolated disaster. Elon Musk's Vegas loop was an almost identical story of hype and failure. It was sold as a revolutionary solution to city transport, a system that promised to move 90,000 people per hour. The grim reality? A few claustrophobic tunnels where Teslas still require a human driver. Tourists are now forced to bake in the desert sun for 20 minutes just for a 90-second ride to nowhere. The grand illusions Vegas peddled have dissolved, leaving only bitter disappointment and unimaginable debt. When these mega projects began hemorrhaging money, the corporations should have absorbed the losses. Instead, in a breathtaking act of greed, they shifted the entire burden onto you, the tourist. From show tickets and meals to parking and those insidious resort fees, every single price point began to creep, then leap upwards. With every new failure, Vegas simply patched the hole by adding a few more dollars to every visitor's bill. By 2025, the average cost of a trip to Vegas had ballooned by a shocking 35 to 40% compared to 2019. The affordable escape has become a financial trap that most families now wisely avoid. Las Vegas once sold a beautiful lie that for just a few $100s, anyone could step into a world of impossible glamour. But that promise has been shattered, replaced by punishing bills and a deep sense of betrayal. As one Canadian tourist bitterly remarked, "Daring to visit Vegas today is an act of financial suicide, a mortgage on your very future. The price tags are a grotesque mockery of actual value, and who in their right mind would walk into that trap?" After all, this city incinerated over $20 billion in a desperate attempt to peddle a dream that has long since died. But the brutal truth is, nobody is buying this hollow fantasy anymore. And as Las Vegas blindly chases its colossal mirages in the desert sky, it has carelessly, calamitously thrown away the one thing that mattered, the very lifeblood, the soul that once made this glittering mirage feel real. When a city that once stood as a monument to the American dream is reduced to a pile of unpaid bills and crushing debt, what terrifying fate awaits the rest of this nation? If Vegas has sold its soul for the fleeting glint of luxury, does America even stand a chance of holding on to the very spirit that generations of its people bled and sacrificed to create? The horrifying answer is already being written in the mass exodus of its visitors. The tidal wave of tourists abandoning Las Vegas isn't because their tastes have changed. It's because the city itself has become so obscenely expensive that it screams a clear message to the average person: you are not welcome here. In October, with winter barely on the horizon, a chilling hibernation had already gripped Vegas since the summer. Across the media, a firestorm of scandalous headlines erupted. A single bottle of water at the Aria Hotel for an unbelievable $26. Outrageous, indefensible resort fees. A desperate question began to echo across the country. Is Vegas even worth it anymore? The answer isn't hard to find. You need only gaze upon the streets of Vegas today. Two words tell the whole story: utterly desolate. Just ask Caitlin and Max Lane, a couple from Scottsdale, Arizona. They confessed a once cherished annual pilgrimage to Vegas, but this year was a horrifying departure. Their latest trip left them with memories so nightmarish, they'd pay to forget them. "For lunch, we had a simple club sandwich and a couple of Diet Cokes," they said. The Cokes were $4 each. $4 for one can of soda? What kind of dark magic is Vegas infusing into its beverages? If it's not magic, then it's something far more sinister. Pure, unadulterated greed. And theirs is far from an isolated horror story. Across the internet, on every forum and social platform, a furious chorus of thousands of tourists is rising up, condemning the predatory pricing that has infected every corner of the city. In Vegas, value isn't just hidden. It's a deliberate con, a shell game played with your wallet. Visitors are being forced to pay a king's ransom only to receive a pauper's experience, leaving them feeling fleeced and utterly betrayed. This catastrophic failure is most glaring in the international market. Canadian tourists, once a vital artery of revenue for Las Vegas, are now hemorrhaging away from the city. They are being driven out not just by the city's insatiable greed, but by a perfect storm of insurmountable external forces. Labyrinthine immigration policies, skyrocketing flight costs, a crippled Canadian dollar, and a chilling shift in international relations have built a wall around the city. When the price of admission becomes an insult to their intelligence and an assault on their savings, people make a very simple choice: they never come back. Meanwhile, the city's corporate overlords, in their infinite arrogance, are doubling down on a disastrous strategy. They are systematically purging the budget-conscious traveler to exclusively court the ultra-wealthy. Their gamble was that a handful of high rollers could replace the millions of everyday people who built this city. Reality, however, delivered a brutal and humiliating lesson. A few thousand pampered VIPs are no substitute for the millions of middle-class and international visitors who have turned their backs in disgust. The fallout is as predictable as it is devastating. A tsunami of cancellations has crashed down on the hotels, forcing them to either slash prices in a panic or stare at the haunting emptiness of their rooms. And online, a new rallying cry has emerged: Vegas ripoff. It's spreading like wildfire, fueled by an endless torrent of photographic evidence and personal testimonials exposing the city's rampant price gouging. The very image of Las Vegas, once a glittering paradise of unrestrained joy, has been irrevocably stained with the bitter taste of deception and profound disappointment. Is there any way back from this abyss? Some analysts desperately propose last-ditch solutions. Stop hiding predatory fees in the fine print. Be honest for once. Offer all-inclusive packages so visitors aren't ambushed the moment they arrive. And if Las Vegas has any hope of luring back its international clientele, especially from Canada, it must tear down visa barriers and subsidize the crushing cost of travel. These aren't suggestions, they are non-negotiable demands for survival. But even if a miracle occurs, the damage is done. The prevailing emotions are no longer just disappointment. They are white-hot rage and betrayal. Visitors once felt that Vegas belonged to them, a shared sanctuary of celebration and cherished memories. Now, they leave feeling like they've been cast out, utterly abandoned. They've been treated as if their loyalty, their history, and their money mean absolutely nothing. If Las Vegas continues down this path of elitist folly, catering only to the whims of the rich while scorning the masses that gave it life, is there any hope left for this city to win back our trust? Because if this disastrous path continues, the most tragic casualty will be the slow, agonizing death of the very memory of what Vegas once was. There was a time, a glorious time, when Las Vegas was hailed as the American dream, accessible to every common man. You didn't need a king's ransom. Anyone, absolutely anyone, could step into that blinding, brilliant light and feast at a buffet that didn't break the bank, and for a fleeting moment, feel like royalty. For countless working-class families, Vegas was the ultimate escape, a sanctuary from the daily grind that didn't demand an entire year's savings. But look at it now. That dream is dead. That party is over. People still whisper about the Vegas of the 70s and 80s with a deep, sorrowful nostalgia. Back in those golden days, hotels shamelessly lured you in with $5 all-you-can-eat buffets. The grandest shows on earth were priced so an entire family could witness the magic. Even the cab drivers would boast about driving dozens of eager passengers, all rushing to catch an evening show. That Vegas belonged to everyone, whether you were a millionaire or just a man with a dream. Everyone had a seat at the table. But in the last decade, a dark and insidious shift has completely dismantled that foundation. Industry reports expose a chilling strategy, a premiumization model that shamelessly courts the super rich while systematically betraying the trust of the middle class. And the numbers, straight from the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, don't lie. The average room on the Strip in 2024 still commands an outrageous $74 a night, a staggering 27% spike from 2019. And this is happening while the city is bleeding visitors. It exposes the cold, hard reality. Vegas props up these insane rates by nickel and diming you with a plague of hidden fees. For anyone trying to travel on a budget, these prices aren't just high, they are a slammed door in the face. This isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. This is a catastrophic assault on the very soul of the city. The Las Vegas that once proudly proclaimed itself the city for everyone has twisted into a private playground for the ultra-wealthy. And the middle class, the very backbone of its tourism, is being brutally cast out. But when you kick out the majority, you shatter the very pillar that built your empire. If this suicidal trajectory continues, Las Vegas won't just lose its customers, it will lose the very essence that made it a global phenomenon. Yet even now, there is a sliver of a chance to pull back from the abyss. Some analysts are pleading for a return to sanity, suggesting that honest, fixed-price packages without the labyrinth of hidden fees could begin to mend this broken trust. Bringing back smaller, affordable shows aimed at families and retirees could be a lifeline to the old spirit of Vegas for everyone. Even the corporate giants, Caesars Entertainment and MGM Resorts, are being warned to pilot transparent, all-inclusive models instead of continuing their relentless gouging with hidden fees. Because in the end, the truth is this: the magic of Vegas was never just about the neon glow or the billion-dollar monuments to excess. It was its sacred promise to turn any ordinary person into the star of their own story for one unforgettable night. And when that promise is broken, the party is nothing but a hollow, empty room. If this party is truly over, who will be left to sweep up the ashes? And does this city possess the moral courage to admit that its only future lies in its past, in returning to the democratic dream that made Vegas belong to everyone? As Las Vegas gambles its soul on colossal projects to chase its former glory, no one could have imagined the cruel irony that the first casualties would be the very people who are the lifeblood of this city. The neon burns as bright as ever. The billion-dollar billboards scream for your attention. But just beneath that glittering facade lies a scene of devastating, heartbreaking contrast. Pathetic, makeshift tents now house the very people who once served your drinks, drove your cab, or dealt your winning hand. They are now forced to sleep on the cold, unforgiving concrete. For them, the Vegas dream hasn't just faded, it has violently shattered. A damning report from the Las Vegas Review-Journal reveals that in the first half of 2025, the hospitality and entertainment sector saw its workforce collapse by over 8% compared to last year. But this isn't just a cold, heartless statistic. It represents a catastrophic fissure tearing through the lives of tens of thousands of families. Listen to this. A 55-year-old dealer recalls the days she'd split a healthy $300 in tips with her coworkers on a single evening shift. Now, she's lucky to see less than $60, even on a supposedly busy weekend. Another server, a 40-year-old woman, confessed she's only scheduled for a handful of shifts a week. It's not for a lack of skill or will, it's because the gaming tables are ghost towns. With their incomes in a freefall, they face the unholy choice between paying rent and putting food on the table. The haunting images of empty casino floors tell a wider story of collapse. The entire ecosystem that supports this city is grinding to a halt. Taxis sit idle, waiting for fares that never come. It's a gut punch to the city's core. Restaurants are forced to shutter their doors early, and housekeeping staff are watching their hours and their livelihoods vanish into thin air. These people haven't just lost their jobs. They've lost the very foundation of security that was supposed to be the heart of the American dream, because Vegas was never just a playground for tourists. This city was once a bastion of stability for the middle class, a place where real families were built, where children were educated, all on the wages earned in its shadow. So how do we pull back from this abyss? The answer isn't another grotesque light show or some fantasy billion-dollar mirage in the desert. It must begin with a shred of human decency. Governments and corporate behemoths establishing emergency relief funds for the very service workers they've left for dead. A lifeline other cities have already proven works. It means creating real pathways forward, like vocational retraining to transition casino employees into event management, or sustainable tourism, giving them a fighting chance to find stable ground again. Some are even demanding that corporate giants like MGM Resorts pilot a profit-sharing model, so that when the boom times return, the workers who create the wealth actually benefit instead of being the only ones who bear the crushing risk when crisis hits.